From Card Making Magic. I'm going to stay with the same set of dies that I introduced you to in starting your Spellbinder collection. It's also the same set of dies that I've used throughout the other videos, and this is the card that I'm going to create today. Now these are the things I'm going to need to make the card. So I've folded an A4 sheet in half and I'm going to use it with the fold at the top. I'm going to make a smaller panel to sit on the front of that, and I'm using the edgeabilities to create the pattern on each end. So if you put one side through your die cutter first and then take them and put them on the other side and run it through again, but you're going to need to make sure that they fit on the front panel. Now the little hearts that are in it, don't throw those away. They will always come in handy for another project, but we're also going to use them on this project. So from the Parisian dies I've cut 2 border panels, and from the large motifs one I've cut 3. Now if you look at these, they loop together. Where you have this pattern there, you can push those together, loop them one under the other, and with a little spot of glue that will hold those in place. And I've cut myself a 3rd one because that's going to sit on the top. Now what I've also gone ahead and done is cut some leaves from the leaf dies. There's all my leaves. I've cut myself a little collar from the smaller die. I've cut myself a flower, and I'm now going to go ahead and cut myself a label. But before I do that, to make sure that my sentiment is in the centre of that die, I'm going to stamp the sentiment on the piece of paper first. Now to make sure there's no greasy fingerprints on this card, I'm just going to go over it with a little bit of talcum powder. That's all it is, just talcum powder in a container, run it over there. And then with the Versamark and the stamp that you want to use, I'm just going to stamp it in place. Now with some silver embossing powder, I'm just going to sprinkle that over the top. Take off the surplus onto a spare piece of paper, and then I'm going to emboss that. Once you've embossed your sentiment, add your die in place and tape it so that it doesn't move, and run it through your die cutting machine, and then there you'll have your sentiment in exactly the place that you want it. Now don't forget to remove your die from your card, and keep your tape, you can use it on the next project. Now the little hearts that you had left, and I said don't throw them away, this is what you're going to do with them, or this is what you can do with them. I have got tiny little foam pads, and all I've done is cut them in half, and I've added a little piece to each of the hearts on the back, and then all I've done is add them to the sentiment to make it look a little bit more embellished. So to make the flower, I'm going to take it out of the die, and I'm just going to run Versamark around the edges of the flower. So just touch the edges with your Versamark all the way around, and then when you've done that, just sprinkle it with the same silver powder that you used to create the sentiment. So once you've sprinkled it all on, tip off your surplus, and then you're going to heat that with your heat gun. Don't worry about the extra marks, they will be hidden inside your flower. So I'm just going to heat that now with the heat gun. So once you've got the flower embossed, I'm just going to roll it up from the outer edge in towards the centre, and then once I've done that, I've glued it down in the middle. I've put a blob of glue into the centre of the flower, and I've just pressed a large pearl in the middle. So now we have all the different elements ready to create the card. I've added the border to the back of the centre panel. I've added some foam tape to the back, and I'm just going to pop that in place onto the base card. Now if you remember, we looped these two together and we added a little spot of glue to keep them in place. So again, I've added some foam pads to the back, and I'm just going to pop these onto the top of that centre panel. Now in the middle of that one, I'm going to add another one of the motif shapes, and again I've added foam pads to the back. They're only thin foam pads, but they just give it a little bit of height, and that's going to sit in the middle. And then I've chosen my sentiment, I've added the little hearts in it. I'm going to pop some foam pads on the back of that and put that into the centre of the card. Now for the rest of the elements, I'm just going to have a dry run as to where I want to place the things. And just to give a little bit more texture to the leaves, all I've done is run them through a ribbler, and that just gives the ridged effect to the leaves. There it is. That just gives a little bit more texture. So I'm just going to see where on the card I want to place these. And then add them with a bit of glue in the position that I want them. So I've now got these glued into the position that I want them. I've created a double bow. I'm going to sit that at the top of the card. I've cut myself a little decorative collar, which is going to sit in the centre of the bow. And then in the middle of that, I'm going to put the same large pearl that I added to the flower. Now a handy little tip for storing your dies in is keep the packets that the dies came in. Into the centre, staple a piece of magnetic sheet, pop your die on the sheet and store them in a storage system that you can keep to hand, and all you need to do is just rifle through, and there you have the dies that you need.